But more now on the Beagle facility in East Yorkshire. The company, which provides dogs for medical experiments, has been given planning permission to be allowed to start breeding puppies. Until now, B&K Universal near Withensea has been buying in young dogs from elsewhere. David Gatehouse is from B&K Universal.
We hope to build a world-leading unit which will have the highest standards of breeding, husbandry, care, socialisation, and of course a significant factor is that we'll no longer have to transport our dogs in from abroad. It's a win for the dogs, it's a win for science. Only a madman would want to experiment on animals for the sake of experimenting on animals, although the truth is that the majority of procedures or experiments applied to dogs we supply are no more distressing than an injection or an addition to their foodstuffs.
East Riding Council, which turned down 2 planning applications, says it notes the decision made by the Secretary of State and will review the decision notice in its entirety. Let's speak now to Louise Owen. She is the founder and director of the science-based campaign For Life on Earth, which represents locals in Grimston. Good evening to you. Apologies, sir. Good evening to you, Louise.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can indeed. That was my fault. I do apologise.
Don't worry.
So what do you make of this decision?
Well, the first thing I'd like to say to David Gatehouse is I would like him to provide one of his scientists for a medical debate with our experts. For Life on Earth represents the locals in Grimston, and our science is illustrated by the leading medical board in its field, which opposes Beagle experiments purely on human medical and scientific grounds, and 83 members of the UK Parliament at the last, just before the general election, signed early day motions calling for scientists from the vivisection community, such as David Gatehouse's scientific community, to come forward and agree to debate the medical experts that illustrate our scientific evidence, because current medical knowledge has proven that beagles are completely incapable, and indeed all animal models are not capable of predicting the responses of human patients. And we have been calling for David Gatehouse's scientific community to come forward, give us the name of their scientist. We have debate conditions endorsed by Britain's foremost human rights defence barrister, Michael Mansfield QC. We're working closely with a patient organisation which is called Patients Campaigning for Cures, which is founded by a 26-year-old young lady who has multiple sclerosis. And we want the scientists who claim that beagles can predict the responses of human patients to agree to our scientific debate with the conditions endorsed by Michael Mansfield QC. We want that to happen tomorrow. We've been waiting, we've been calling for this medical debate for 2 years, and B&K Universal will not submit their scientific representative to engage in the debate.
But in some regards, this, I will come on to your concerns, this has more to do with simply traffic in the area of Grimston than it does a wider, bigger question. One of the reasons it was turned down was because of a concern about the level and noise and the impact that extra traffic would have around this part near Withensea.
Yes, and that's a planning concern, but B&K Universal, in all their press statements and all their press presentations via David Gatehouse, who is their PR representative, they're constantly making false claims about the ability of beagles to predict the responses of human patients. And 83 members of the UK Parliament are now calling for their scientific representatives to come forward and debate in public our medical representatives, so that the public, national and international, can hear that there is absolutely no scientific evidence for beagles to be experimented on under any conditions, whether they're flown in, whether they're bred in the UK. It simply doesn't work for human patients.
But, I mean, in this case, this is simply a facility for breeding, and as we heard not a few minutes ago, the B&K Universal has been buying in dogs for elsewhere and says it doesn't actually carry out medical experiments itself.
Well, it's breeding. It's going to be breeding around 2,000 beagles annually, selling them for between £1,000 and £3,000 each to medical laboratory experiments, that are alleged and falsely claimed able to predict the responses of human patients. And that's why we're calling their scientists out. We want this highly organised. The debate conditions are rigorous. As I said, they've been endorsed by Britain's leading human rights defence barrister, who's working closely with the patient organisation, the Patients Campaigning for Cures. This is a terrible step for human medicine. We're entering the age of personalised medicine, where current science now understands that even identical twins suffer from completely different illnesses, and they require totally unique treatments for their genetic makeup. Now, that's an identical twin. That's the level we're now at with current medical understanding.
And we heard from David Gatehouse earlier on. I mean, albeit he's not here live and he wasn't available for this programme, but spoke to my colleagues at BBC Look North today, and he said that B&K Universal welcomed alternative ways of medical testing, so that the company is open to change.
There is no alternative to something that doesn't work in the first place. Animal experiments do not predict the responses of human patients. They need to be abandoned on those grounds, and in place, funding needs to be directed towards human-based, valid, viable methods. These are not alternatives. They are valid and viable for human patients. And we are now in the age of gene-based medicine, where treatments are being matched to your unique genetic profile, not your mother's, not your sister's, not even your identical twins. So for B&K Universal to be trying to make money, and I'm talking between 1,000 and 3,000 per dog, 2,000 breeding dogs every year, falsely claiming that this is good for human patients. We want their scientists to get in the debate arena with ours. We would like you, the BBC, to help us with this. Help put me on a programme, put our medical experts on a programme with theirs. Let's organise this properly moderated public scientific debate so that people like B&K Universal stop trying to make money out of something that is harming the progress of human medicine.
Louise, thank you for your time. That's Louise Owen. She's the founder and director of the science-based campaign for Life on Earth, speaking to me live this evening here on BBC Radio Humberside, as we said.